no members of the public here, so we'll skip that. Want to vote to approve the minutes of last week? Do I have somebody who wants to vote to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
No, I made it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mike to
second.
second. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No abstentions?
All right. For trustees reports,
Skip over that.
we're gonna skip the first one and go to the treasurer's report.
Okie dokie. Julie, I meant to email this to you ahead of time, but I will afterward.
Thank you.
Okay, for the month of November, we started with a balance of $712,335.47. There were no deposits. Income of $1,117.97. No withdrawals, no expenses. So the total change in value for this month was positive $38.27. Significantly different than recent months. Take that for what it will. For an ending balance of $713,391.71.
Thank you.
Still the highest that I've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ever.
It was not a negative.
So.
It was a positive change.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
Ken second.
Ken second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? All right. Friends of the Library update. Was there any update?
So I was unable to attend the last
Okay.
meeting, but I will attend the next one because
Yeah.
it's at a
I
3 p.m.
also, and you weren't there either, were you? The
No,
last
the last
Friends
one
meeting?
I was
like
not.
nobody made the last Friends meeting because I was, where was I? I was away too. But oh yeah, it was my father's surgery. That's right. I'm like, why was I not there? But I can report a little bit because of course I'm in touch with them all the time. Plans are moving forward for their January 31st open house. So they have hired, the musician is going to be David Polanski, which is different from the last few years. I've actually hired him before many, many years ago myself. So he's a very accomplished musician, and I believe he'll probably do a lot of standards, tunes and such. And he's just appealing all around. So we'll be there. They're planning to have an author whose name just went right out of my head, who's going to be upstairs in the standing room also that day. So they're going to have the music downstairs. They're going to have an author in the standing room upstairs who's a romance author who's written a couple books, and she lives in Salem. And I can't believe her name just went out of my head, but I'll tell you later. Julie, who that was. And then they're going to have, kind of like in previous years, they're going to have some door prizes. They're going to have, food. They always have some food and snacks. They're going to have like little snack bags for kids. And then there's going to be at least 2 crafty options that I know about as well. So, so January 31st, 2 to 4, it should be a good time. I mean, it sounds good. They're moving along with their plans. And as I said, they're going to be meeting this month at 3 p.m. on the 17th instead of their normal morning meeting. So that's the update as far as that goes. And then
That's December 17th?
December 17th is going to be their next meeting, yes. And then
Is that 3 p.m.?
at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yes, 3 p.m. And then they are just adding to their the stable of museum passes, so Mass Audubon and the historic Massachusetts Historic Places, which I did not know about before. So, but those are both getting added as well. So I think those will both be really great additions. So paperwork's in for those, I believe. So I think that's all I know.
Great. That kind of feeds right into our director's report.
There we go. So first, I will ask if anybody has questions about anything I put in the written report. Then I have multiple new items that's happened in the last 3 days.
So one of the things that I know we briefly, the discussion about, oh no, that's new business. Never mind.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Yeah, just make sure you stop.
Sorry, I fumbled my words and I said no, I don't. So
Never
I'm
mind.
all set.
It's basically a never mind.
Never
She didn't really say anything, Julie.
So I just had a quick question.
Yes,
and
go ahead.
This may have been discussed when we were initially talking about the action plan, and I may have missed it, so I apologize if I did. So now that, so I guess what are the next steps for the action plan? Like, does it go before? Guys, I see it's going through the MBLC. Is there the town? Like, what happens next with the action plan before it's like finalized? I guess.
So the action plan is it's kind of a weird thing because the state requires you to file the action plan, and then they just trust that you work on it, and so it doesn't need any other approval. So so I sent it into them, they approved it, and that's really all there is. So it's just, for the trustees and us to try to make sure we're steering the boat towards those steps, those things that we want to try to accomplish. But there's no weirdly no one there like rubber stamping it and saying, oh, you accomplished this, you didn't accomplish
More just
that,
for like almost like internal accountability.
Yeah, it's kind of internal accountability for it. But they just want to make sure that you are always every year going through the process of saying like, what kind of things are we working on, what are we trying to accomplish this year, kind of thing. Yeah, so it's kind of like a funny required thing that doesn't have a lot backing it up.
It's like we care more about it than they do.
Yeah. Yes. I can't even imagine if they had to try to do over 300 libraries, like action plans and make sure they did it. Like, I don't even know how they would do that. So, just as well there. Any other questions?
Question on the
Yes.
budget. I saw that you met with Rodney Conley, the finance director.
Yep.
Budget's a little up. Is there any concern on the town's part,
No, and I included in the paperwork that I added in your folder, actually, because I didn't have the money reports, and so I added them in. So the last page of that is the draft of the budget that we had for that. So which I wrote a giant draft on it. So as I mentioned in my report, so the increase in there is, of course, because of the contractual obligations along with the union. So that's why there's a big chunk up in the raise for the salaries, the salary line. Everything else is just normal, like the normal, just like this little bump, for the Noble fees, which would be expected, of course, and everything else is steady, holding steady, and they did want it to be more of a, what do they call it, lights on year, just keep the lights on year while it's, the town manager's first run through as well. So that's where we're at for now. So I met with Rodney Conley, with the town manager and the assistant town manager and the assistant finance director, Nick Navin. We all met and just kind of ran through everything, but it's all good for now.
So you don't foresee, as of right now, don't foresee any sort of
I don't foresee any issues right now. So next year, I know I gave you guys before the formula that gets used to see what us meeting the marks that we need to meet for the state, and because of that raise in the salaries, as that that will tick everything up a little bit more of the percentages that we need to have available for things. So next year's the one thing that we'll watch is that right now I think we're at about $215,000 is our mark that we have to spend for materials. This year, and next year will probably be around at the 220 mark, which is our budget right now is 220. So that will be, we'll probably have to start asking for more money to be added to that line, but that's an FY28 problem, not an FY27 problem. I don't foresee anything else being an issue this year.
Okay.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
And so I'm not fully vetted on everything, so forgive me for this being like
That's
a half.
fine. Yep.
But I know that they released stuff that was in Congress and got removed and now put back. I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit.
Sure. So IMLS, which is the Institute of Museum and Library Services, is a federal organization. So they receive federal funding, and then every year that all gets doled out to the states. So the news before now was that they were trying to just close the department altogether, but then they also were drastically cutting the funds down, right? So that was kind of where we were at, and that is where the MBLC gets the majority of their funding from. So that was very big deal. But yeah, so basically what's happened is that it has been ruled that they can't take that money all away and that they have to restore it. So right now, yay! The money has been restored to IMLS, which means money, which in theory means the money will be restored to the states. So, so that affects us more in the, welcome, Rini. That affects us more in that, there are different services and such that the MBLC provides. There you go. Libraries that were being cut, right? So some of that was like databases, some of it was like, summer reading support, all sorts of things like that. So those will hopefully be restored. Who knows what will happen? There's obviously roller coaster ride stuff going on with this stuff, but right now we're happy as far as that goes.
Madam Chair, a follow-up question about, I see about staffing, not having a real policy about substitutes, and I see that the ones that it's common practice that people that resign or leave, they come back like in other departments and they're making the rate they left in. And you're looking to try to change that up?
Right. Yeah.
That makes
Well,
sense.
basically standardize it because it's just been a practice and not,
Not a policy.
Not a policy and not, written down anywhere that it's just like, oh, sure, you can do that. Where we really need to make sure that we're following standardized things and have like a job description and a standard rate of pay for that.
So obviously probably be a lower rate, right?
Yeah, it'll be a lower rate as well. Yes, yeah.
Is that going to affect you, or that might?
So it's not a budget line because they're usually they're taking the place of usually somebody who's calling out, right? So, and usually somebody who's part-time anyway. So they're just kind of filling in. So we don't need to have it as a budget, there's no budget for it because the money's already there and we're not paying somebody else that money. So it's, yeah, so it's a wash. So basically it's a wash whenever we use any people like that. But right now, of course, because we're paying people at all these different rates from wherever they started, this will in the end actually probably end up being saving a little money.
Do you expect that they're going to want to work for less?
I don't know. We'll see. But it's so I'm going through the process where I'm working with HR. So I've created a job description for it, and I'm sending it to HR and like making sure they vet it that it's okay, and then it's just deciding, sitting down and deciding like what kind of rate of pay, and it'll just be a flat rate, obviously for it. So that's just different than what we've had before. So it's a process, but definitely one of those things that's just been one of those things hanging out there that we need to clean
their
up.
benefit.
Yes, and it's such a something we want to clean up the stuff, right? That's like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else before I move along? Yes, Corey
Yes,
has
I
a
have
face.
a question.
Yes.
I was hoping Dawn would be here because she had mentioned that she had more conversations on this topic and information to share with us. But as I'm sure you know, and most of the trustees hopefully know, there were comments made by a staff member at the Human Rights and Inclusion
Yes.
Committee meeting last month that were disturbing to a lot of folks in the community. And so I was wondering if you could comment publicly on that and share any information that you have about
So,
how that's going.
I will only share, just because obviously we don't want to talk about an employee particularly, and to do anything like that, right? We want to be in executive session and all sorts of things. But what I can share is that, yes, Donna and I met with the town manager, the assistant town manager, and HR, kind of discuss what we are discussing is that, and I know some of you who have been on the board for a very long time, the trustees used to have a different responsibilities and powers, and then that has all changed over time. But there's a lot of, because the library has been separate from the town, as I've mentioned many times before, there's a lot of murkiness around what is the library's responsibility and what is the town's responsibility. And so we met with the town manager, the assistant town manager, and HR to start that conversation about where those lines are and who is responsible for what pieces
Yeah.
of, things, going on. How is that, how is somebody who's an employee, like, working through, issues, who should they be going to, et cetera, and so forth. And there's a lot of very blurred lines,
Yes.
So we're working. So that was it was a very good initial meeting, and we're moving forward to be able to figure that out, so that we can address some of these things in a better way and make it very clear. So when there are any issues going on, that whoever it is on staff or whatever knows where to go, what to do, who they're talking to, and then, like, how things will move forward. Say as right now it is still kind of murky.
Very.
Yeah, yeah, just kind of is not. It's just murky. So so that was initial meeting that we just had to start that process, and we have some things, like, we're gonna, because library employees are town employees, right? I mean, they are onboarded by the town, by the HR department, and so forth. And so, of course, people are signing on certain policies and things. But then the library has some of its own sets of policies as well. And generally what happens is, if the town has a policy, the library then also adopts the policy that the town has. But the library is still considered like a separate entity in a lot of ways. So that's been a very confusing piece, because the library in the past has kind of gone its own way on lots of things. And what the trustees used to do and what they do now, like, that's changed over time as well. So we're working to kind of make that be clear, like, an HR is going to, make it clear, like, what they offer or can offer to library employees, versus what the library should be doing, and so on and so forth. And, like, where's the trustees' role, right? So
Yeah.
so that's what we're working on right now. So we've made a strong start with that.
Could you comment maybe generally? Obviously, I know you understand you can't speak to any particular situation, but this is not the first time that we've heard from an employee about issues or, like, dissatisfaction with the culture, the employee culture. I remember when I first came on, like, hearing from more than one employee that they were feeling that there were cultural issues. So I guess my question is, like, can you just comment generally about anything that you're doing or anything that that you'd like to be doing to improve the culture for the library employees, or any?
That is a very tricky question. I will say that when I came on at this position, that there was a lot of negativity amongst the staff, for a variety of reasons that had nothing to do with me, right? It's just from previous administrations, right, had created some environments that were very unhealthy. And so I'll just say that really all I can say is that it's been a very long, difficult road to improve culture. And I do think that it is better than when I started, for sure. A lot of it is, different people on staff. Everybody has to want to be willing to engage in culture and culture change. And that welcome. And that is just a piece that is, some people resist culture change, and have certain opinions and do not want to change how they feel or how they do things.
Has the union been, any conversation with the union?
As far as this piece is concerned, very little that I know about.
Should it not be? I mean, is this employee unionized?
Yes, but that's,
Okay.
that's, again, that's not, it's So I say, like, some of the things that we have been doing over the last few years, you know, is I've been, like, we've done quite a bit of training. We've done more training in the last couple of years than I think I've done at, like, my previous library, like, over, like, 10 years. And that's, like, a step forward that we're doing as well. Like, I have tried various other sort of experiments at the library, like, kind of culturally and socially, to try to improve relationships between people, engage them, you know, in different ways. And that is, there's a group of people who they want to come to work, do the work, and leave, and they don't want to engage in other ways with other people. And that's, I can't tell somebody you have to, right?
No,
Like, you have to engage.
But I just need to stress that if this is a union member and if there is a union, management can't be going behind the union's back. If
And
you're
what are you
having
talking about?
meetings with the town manager, the
Mhm.
union needs to be aware of this.
Okay. For what, in what way? are
Because
you
you're
talking about?
considering you're bargaining behind the union's back.
We're not bargaining
But you're
anything.
I just, I think that you need to at least make the union aware of what's going on so that the union can't turn around and say that we were not aware of this. Just courtesy.
Okay. Sure.
For what part of this, Julie?
We're talking about.
I was listening in the car.
I'm sorry, what?
I was listening in the car coming
Oh,
over. So.
okay. I'm just saying that if there are meetings going on, regarding changing anything, or just as a courtesy, you really should be involving the union so that they're not caught off guard, and so that they don't want to file any charges against you.
What is this about the discussions we've had?
Yes.
None of that pertains to the library employees. It's all management and policy stuff that does not concern.
But
the
is it
employees.
something that the management is apt to? I just think where there now is a union where there hasn't previously been a union.
Right.
I
That's,
just
that's
think
a factor.
that instead of having somebody have any surprise, that you should at least make the union aware of the fact that conversations are taking place. Okay.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
let
well,
me
no, I'm
tell-
just
let me tell-
I'm just thinking through what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just thinking through. I don't think that the union will not be involved. I don't think that's a thing. I think where we, like the town, the library, the trustees, and the town are just trying to delineate our different pieces, which then will be something that the union will be made aware of for sure.
But you should make them aware in the beginning instead of after the fact. Just as a courtesy,
I think I agree, actually, that the union probably should have a voice in a conversation about
I don't disagree.
who's ultimately responsible for the
Yeah.
management team, and this is obviously a very tricky conversation.
Yep.
And I think a lot of what my concern about the way the comments reflect on the library and upon you and upon us, is mixed in with historical events here in Danvers, and
Yes.
I would say that the town would be remiss to not take these comments and these allegations very seriously,
Well, they are.
given what we went through 5 years ago in this town, in a different, obviously not with the library, but with the school department. And if the town HR and town manager and assistant manager are taking responsibility for this allegation of harassment. I guess I will go directly to them, but I just want to say as a library board member, I expect there to be, and for the public, I expect there to be some accounting for, since the comments were made publicly in a town meeting.
Right.
We need to be pressing for progress on this issue.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I don't disagree with you at all.
So I just had two things I just wanted to quickly say. One, I would agree with Corey that I think there's a larger conversation about cultural issues in town broadly that is part of this. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And I guess more of a question, I guess, and you might not know the answer to this at this point, but it seemed like listening to some of the comments, one thing that stuck out to me was sort of a desire for sort of independent accountability, and a person maybe feeling like working through the town, they did not have that sort of independent oversight, which is maybe why they went to another town body. What is the mechanism, or is there discussions around what that mechanism would look like for that sort of, you work through the town HR process, but you're not satisfied with the outcome? Is there some sort of independent mediation, or what's that process look like?
Well, and that's what we are working through right now. And as to Julie's point, like, where does the union come into that process, right? That's, yes.
Because I think that's really at the crux of this, and I understand sort of, and as you were saying, there's sort of where things have been sort of murky. Someone might say, okay, I'll go to the trustees, but if that's not the venue, I think it's certainly valid to say, okay, what are my other options if I'm working through the town process and just not feeling satisfied? So, but it sounds like that's part of the conversation that's ongoing.
That is definitely part of it.
Okay.
Donna, do you have more
Just
about
that
that?
there
Yeah.
is an association now, so she does have options other than the town that she can go through as well. She can go through her association.
Union.
Union.
The
Right.
union.
Yeah.
The union, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I
That's
wasn't feeling well and I took some medicine. And I fell asleep. I'm
That's
so
all
sorry.
right. That's what happens.
I know, thank God when your ding woke me up. Yeah, so she can go through her union, because that is what it's for. It was created by the employees. They wanted it, and I would expect it, but that's part of what, we actually had, it was a really productive meeting with the town manager, so we are in the process. I'll be bringing you in, Jess, but we're gonna be going through, what everybody's role is and how everything's working, because it's been a little vague in the past. But the association should be involved in this.
Right.
They-
So to this point, the union has not been involved in those discussions, though, right?
I honestly don't know, because I heard about this when she came to the HRIC, which I'm also a member of, so I
Right.
watched and saw that. I don't know. No one at HRIC knew to ask her had she gone through the association or through her union.
Yeah.
So
That I do not know the answer to.
I don't either.
Madam Chair, if I might, I would never take an employee's concern or how they're feeling in a environment lightly. However, because you have an employee that has voiced their opinion about the magic words of today, toxic environment, hostility, unfairness. That's not unusual in the town of Danvers. And I know that, okay, it starts with the employee, and they're part of a union, and I'm not sure that anybody knows what the union, whether the union knows what they're doing as far as a grievance process or anything like that. I'm not sure they know I don't know. But because you have an employee that, okay, if they raise their concern, it's a reflection on, it flows supposedly downhill. Now it's on Noel, and then it's supposedly on us. The police department, the 42 years I was there, we marched, we picketed, we had votes of no confidence. We did everything we could. And okay, did it reflect on the police chief? The people in the community had more confidence in the police chief than they did what we were saying. So it's not unusual. And Noel, you're doing a great job, and I wouldn't take it personally because it's all part of business about, but, you know, we could always try to make things better. You know, nobody's perfect. You know the shop you're running. You know what the problems are there, take care of it, but, and it does reflect on us, but like I say, you know, Donna said there's a union, and the union organized quickly, and like Julie, I'm not sure, has there ever been a grievance, do you know? Has there been a grievance?
Not
I mean,
that I'm aware of yet.
And that's, in a union, that's the process. If somebody has a complaint, and Julie will back me up, there's a grievance. You file a grievance about working conditions. They have a contract, and it explains in the contract exactly what they're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be doing. And the step is a grievance. And the grievance is not social media and bad mouthing the library. The process, the proper process is grievance. It goes, I would guess, I don't think we even know the process. With at the police department, it was the captain, and denied. Then it goes to the chief, denied. Then it went to town hall, denied. So if those steps aren't being taken, you know, I mean, you're in the dark and everybody else is too, but, you know, I mean, somebody, you know, you're taking steps to try to remedy it, but it's not unusual for people to be upset with the conditions. I mean, thank you.
I think with the union being the union system at the library being very green, there's definitely some work to be done there,
Right.
with the union leadership within the library employees. But yeah, I think I agree. It's
Like I say, I think, you know, employees have rights, but so do you, and it's spelled out in the contract. They signed a contract. Somebody negotiated a contract. This is what you abide by, and there's a process. But I don't even think there's in the contract. I don't know. I might be wrong. I didn't even see a grievance process in there.
There is, I believe, so I'm pretty sure. I was gonna
Is
say
there a
that.
grievance? Well, that's their first step, and not to be, you know.
Yeah, that, I mean, I'd say your point is that because of the murkiness that we've been talking about, you know, it's been very unclear to employees what where they're supposed to go. And so, you know, different people are doing different things. You know, so one employee might be like, well, I'm going to go talk to my supervisor. And then another employee might be, well, I'm going directly to HR. And maybe another employee is going like, well, I'm going to the union. So that's what needs to be and there is written, you know, in the contract, in the union contract, in library policy, you know, what that procedure is. Like it is written, but things are not being necessarily followed. And that's like where the part of the fault is that, you know, if someone is coming forward with something, you know, we need to say, this is step one, this is step two.
Which I think it's a good thing that like we're working through that process so that like we get it, you know, you're actively working on it. We're actively working on it, trying to figure out the steps and to move forwards and how we move forwards with the
Right.
next
Yes.
steps. So
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
that's a great
our
thing.
real position as trustees, if somebody sees you in the street and complains about something, the direction is usually, have you talked to your supervisor, have you talked to the director, and have you filed a grievance or something like that? You know, that's nothing to do with us, but, you know, going to HR, they've gone beyond the steps they're supposed to. You know, it gets bigger impact, but it's not the process, you know. They have to know the process.
I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't assume that the process has not been followed. my understanding is that there is some delay in resolution. Is really the process is processing. We're in process, and there's some frustration at the stalling of the process, that there haven't been answers, there hasn't been remedy, despite having gone through many channels. And that's where this employee landed in front of the town at the broadcast Human Rights and Inclusion Committee meeting, because it's a grievance about discrimination, essentially, or harassment and other. I don't know the details of the grievance other than what was shared publicly. But I just want to make sure we're not assuming that the process isn't being followed. I think our role, from what I can see right now, is to just continue to broadly question Noelle, director,
Sure.
because the buck does stop at your desk to a certain extent.
Right.
Of course,
No,
there is
absolutely it does.
above you, we have town issues and we have HR and all that kind of thing. But I think it is our job to ask you to comment and let us know what's going on broadly in the culture and what you're doing as a leader to educate yourself and to offer professional development. I know there's been a lot of that over the years, and I suppose there should continue to be.
Yes, there will,
Yes.
and there is some things that I've just been settling details on that will be coming up in the new year very quickly, and some of the some of the issues is that I totally understand that if you were a person and you're upset about things that are happening, of course you are, and it feels terrible to feel like a certain way, right, and to not be happy at work. It feels terrible. I totally understand that. But a lot of times the resolution pieces take a lot of time to get to, and like they are being worked on, but because they take a long time, and especially anything that's training wise, because I have to close the library, and we've planned so many things out so far that it's often very tricky to get that done. So that, and then you're working with somebody else's schedule. So you're working with somebody else's schedule to come to a training on a very busy library that plans things way out in advance. So that's really the majority of the issues that I've been having, is trying to get the appropriate things in play when we can actually do it, that when I can actually have it and make it where there's people actually can be there and attend, and so that's been like my challenge. That's stalled. It's taken me actually months to get my next training lined up, because it is just
And
Madam-
I
Madam-
do just want to clarify that there is no stalling. Things are being worked on. She brought it up, made an assumption that they're stalling because it's not fast enough for her, in her mind.
Which I
and
get.
Madam Chair, I think I think we're bordering on
Yeah, we want to be careful.
executive
what we're saying.
session issue.
Yeah, we want to be very careful
Yeah,
about what
we're-
we're saying.
we're
We should not be
walking a-
mentioning anybody's names
And
or
we're not.
really specific
And
We're
details.
walking a
really
fine
need
line
to-
here.
We can move off this, really, as far as I'm concerned. We take all allegations seriously. Part of what we're talking about with the town manager is redefining roles and obligations and responsibilities. And just so you're aware, some of this stuff has been in the works for a while. It just takes time. No one's stalling, no one's pushing stuff under the rug. Everything that employees bring forward is looked at seriously.
I
really-
fully
yeah.
believe you, Donna, and this board, and I do trust you, Noelle, as well. And I think that whether the town, is adept at taking, responsibility in these types of issues is, I think, something that is right to question and discuss. But it's not our responsibility here at this board.
Right.
But just in the context, I think it's important to say, I don't think it's necessary to assume that everything is going, exactly the way that it should be going through the channels of town hall. Somebody has to push back somewhere, and hold people accountable. What happened 5 years ago when I was a new parent in this town and watching what happened with the school system was formative for me as a resident. And I would hate to see the library get caught up in something similar. And so all of our leaders need to be, hopefully, are listening and taking, all of this very seriously. That's the last thing I'll say on that.
Okay. Well, we were at new business.
Actually,
I'm sorry,
I had a whole bunch of
Trustees.
that's okay. I have a whole bunch of notes to add to my director's report
Sure.
as well. And I actually I thank you all for that discussion. I think it's an important discussion to have. So
Very important. Yes.
and so I'm should I say I'm happy to have the discussion, but I think it's important. So
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, good. So my bunch of extra notes that have happened just this week. So one, I'm going to give this to you, Julie, actually. So we did just get granted our first half of state aid award. And I'll give you this to you, Julie, so you have the number. But so we're getting $37,547.48. I'll let you have that. And then we'll have like the second half, like usually in the early spring, we get the second half of the state aid allotment money. So that's coming in, so that's great. We just got that. Was that just yesterday? Just yesterday, the fire alarm went off, which is brand spanking new thing to happen for me. Don't think I've had the fire alarm go off before. So, and just late in the morning, it went off. So we evacuated the building. Of course, the fire department arrived very, very quickly, and we went, and so the panel was showing that it was on the ground floor, and I went in with them to walk around and look at everywhere and make sure they got in all the spaces they needed to get into, and it was just determined to be a malfunction in the end. So they reset it. We didn't see anything that was of any note. And they were actually commenting, boy, we never come to the library. so that's a good thing that our system seems to work really well. And but that was just of note because I don't think I've ever heard the fire alarm go off before. So it's nice and loud. It's nice. It's not it's not as annoyingly loud as you would think. And downstairs where the children's room is, those red doors automatically close when the fire alarm goes off. So like I happened to be down there, bringing something down there for some reason, and whoa, okay. But people, left without any problem, and it was very quick. 10 minutes later, we were back in the building pretty much. But I just wanted you to be aware that happened, and hopefully that does not happen frequently. We're doing this week, I know I put it in my report, we are doing food drive for the food pantry. So that is, so we have the people we're collecting both in the children's room and in the standing room, and then we're bringing everything up into the standing room. So there's actually quite a few donations have come in already, which is lovely. But if anybody wants to donate, this is the time. This is the time, everyone. What was the other thing I was going to say? We'll be having our winter solstice party that we have every year. That's going to be on Tuesday the 23rd. So I just do all day, provide snacks and merriment for the staff in the staff room. So that's the day before we go on our little mini holiday days off break for the holidays. So that'll be happening again on the 23rd. And I mentioned as well on that the huddle pod that we purchased should hopefully be coming in within the next week or so. So I'm just settling down what date that's going to be. We did so the senior center, I don't know if anybody saw the senior center was closed because their heat broke down. So senior center's heat broke down the other day, and the senior center director called me, and they were going to be closed today. So they asked if they could possibly move their training for van drivers to the library. And the catch was that
they had to come in early, like at 8, because that was when they were doing the training, starting the training. So I made a deal and worked it out so that they could come and use the library this morning earlier for their training. So I was good, glad to help them out. I am also just made a date with an architecture firm who I'm making no promises to or whatever, but I was in conversation with them when I was at the last conference, just about, we want to do renovations and all of that stuff. And they said that they would be willing to just come out and, take a look at the building and talk to me about the process of doing a feasibility study, what some of that would look like get eyes on the building and what kind of things we're looking at, and just give me a better picture of how all of that might fall out. So I'm going to meet with them next month just to do, some basically some research, basic research for me, and they're very kindly offering to do that. I'm not telling them that they get any contracts from me or anything. And what was the other thing that I was going to talk about? I think I talked about most everything. Oh, and we just had a resignation over the weekend by one of my other part-time staff, who just thought it was time to move on. So we now have actually 2 part-time assistant librarian openings. But luckily, I did talk to HR about this, and so we can use that same pool of candidates that we'll be interviewing for the position that was already open to be able to also interview for the second position too. So,
and what was the title of that?
Just assistant librarian, part-time assistant librarian position. So, so that was another thing that just happened as well. And I think that is all my little notes.
So can you just say the dates that you're going to be closed, just so I know that?
Yes. So
I'm sorry.
dates were going to be closed is what she's asking.
I can't hear Jessica.
Okay, just Jessica can.
So it's just the dates. I just wanted Noelle to say the dates that they're going to be closed.
So we'll be closed the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Which is a little longer than we normally would be. Normally we'd be closed the 3 days for sure, but because of the way the dates fall, and we have to make sure, because we have staff that will work, they won't work Friday if they're working the Saturday, so they would be owed another day that they need to take off for the holiday as well. It made sense to have the 4 days this year, so that everybody gets their full allotment of the holidays they're supposed to get. Rather than having them try to figure out other days. So we're going to work with the DPW to see if a staff member can come in just to help sort all the returns that are going to come through the book drop one of the days. But that's in progress. That part's in progress.
And then on the Sundays, I know that we're back to having Sundays open.
Yep.
How was the feedback of delaying the openings? Was there any feedback on it?
I haven't heard any bad feedback about it at all. It was funny actually because I worked one of the Sundays. We had a last minute call out and nobody could cover, so I actually went in not last Sunday, the Sunday before, to work it. And it's funny because the people you see every day also come in Sunday as well. So a lot of it's just the same people. But there was somebody who came in and she's like, "Wow, when did you start opening?" So she didn't know we were open Sundays at all. So she was just very excited that we were open Sundays. She's like, "Oh, great! Like I just found out you're open Sundays." But I haven't heard any negative feedback about the shortened thing. At least none of it's come to me. And I have asked staff if they hear anything to let me know, but no one's given me any other feedback about that.
I was in on Sunday picking up books for my wife, so we were very happy that the Sunday hours were back. So
Yeah.
At least my wife is very happy. She got her books.
There you go. It's a good thing when you can be open some Sunday hours. Anything else, anybody, before we move on to new business?
Do we have any old business?
There's none that I could think of.
Are you going to discuss this refrigeration?
Yep, that's the new business.
So we're now on new business. So yeah.
Okay, we're on new business. So in everyone's packet, there was from the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee, there's a proposal to add a food fridge to the property of the library. And in my discussions with Johan about it, I had asked her to write up a proposal for it, said that the trustees did need to approve it. And then after that, if the trustees do approve it, then I will move it along to the DPW to kind of talk a little bit about placement and such, and to make sure it's sturdily installed, that kind of piece. So we were just kind of talking informally beforehand, but it is not a plugged-in normal refrigerator. It's more like a pantry, so it's only shelf-stable items, not anything else that should be there. It will be basically completely run by the HRIC and any other volunteer groups or community groups that wish to get involved. So they will be the ones monitoring it, stocking it, etc., and so forth. Johan and I did talk about whether we need additional, any additional security measures around the food fridge. Obviously, we want to make it as available as possible to people who need it. We don't want to be like, it can only be, open when the library's open necessarily, because that makes it less available. But however, considering that the pantry is only open so many hours a week, any extra hours is probably a boon, of course, to make food available. But I think a lot of things we'll have to kind of like see how things go and then make adjustments as it goes. But I think it's a great idea. I think the library is a natural, great place to have it. I mean, it is across the street from the food pantry as well. But I think it's a place that people already come for resources and is fairly accessible area. So I think. And as I say, like she and I also talked about just making sure that wherever the placement is, that it's someplace that is, very visible, so that, if we do feel the need to keep more of an eye on it, we can keep an eye on it. But up to you all to discuss what you think.
So there was a point of does the town have to approve it because it's technically town-owned property?
And that we'll have to figure out that piece.
This isn't just a seasonal thing, is it
year-round as far as I know, yeah. I mean, I think you probably have to think about what you have in there. Let me make sure I'm talking on the mic. You want to think about what you have available in there, I guess, if it's, freezing temperatures, right? So you might have I was thinking of like canned food that might not be good to have out in the freezing cold, but a lot of things that are in box form, right, would probably be okay to have out there. I am not an expert though on outside food storage.
Madam Chair, I've done some research on this. Somerville, Watertown, Cambridge, Lynn, Dorchester, Newton have these type things here.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, why isn't somebody here from the inclusion committee? They want to talk about partnership. We may have a lot of questions. Why aren't they here?
I kind of had left that open for them to come if they felt the need. I think I left that on Donna's plate. Sorry, Donna. Of like if
I
we
get
felt
it.
like they
I get
needed
it.
to come or not.
You're the messenger.
Right. Well, I felt that the proposal was very thorough, and so I thought that we could discuss the proposal, and then if there's more specific questions that we have about it, that we can bring that back to them and let them then come to the next meeting and answer other specific questions, which they might not have the answer to all the questions that you might have as well.
So the actual, the actual structure has not been decided. It seems like there's like some question about whether it would be a plug-in fridge or.
It's not a plug-in. There's no plug-in to it.
It says if the fridge is plugged in, we will seek excess items from local restaurants that could last for a short number of days in the proposal.
Yeah, there's no place to plug it in really.
So then what kind of structure are we talking about?
Yeah.
So the website, it looks like it's like a built cabinet.
Yeah.
So my concern is what is it actually going to look like, and where is it going to be? Because we just don't want to obviously have it in the way of the door or the ADA ramp or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
we wouldn't have it that close to the building.
And I just want to clarify, like, what? So, is the express purpose for access outside of food pantry hours.
Yes.
Is that really the main idea? Is that
Yes.
for people who need something and the pantry's not open?
Right.
I
My
would say I also think not just to, but one thing I would say is I think there's also an aspect of these that there is perhaps less stigma of visiting one of these fridges than going to a food pantry.
Sure.
So I think that's part of the idea too, is that it's, if you're at the library, you go to the fridge, you grab what you need. It's perhaps less stigmatizing than going to a pantry. Sorry to interrupt, but
No, that's okay.
my
I'm all
understanding
for
of
it. I
these.
think it's a great idea. My only concern would be animals.
Thank you.
Because yeah, they'll get into, we had I was camping this summer and the animals got into our locked cooler.
Wow.
Yes, which was scary. So I mean, I don't think we have a lot of bears usually around here, but raccoons are very crafty, so I would just want to make sure that it doesn't become it sounds like it, and the HRIC is offering to completely run
Yes.
the program.
Yes. Yep.
So
yep.
they would have to.
Yep. So they would fund it, build it, or however they
Yeah.
do that piece. Johan and I did go talk a little bit about whether or not to lock it
Yeah.
in off times. Like,
Yeah.
do we lock it, overnight, or when the library's not open? Do we have it just open during library
Yeah.
hours when it can be monitored more?
Mm.
So that we kind of left that open to see, because again, of course, people who need it might not be able to
Right.
access it while the library's open. Even though the library's open a lot of hours. So,
Well,
so that's
I-
like a whole nother question.
I do have a question, and this might be a dumb question.
I've got a couple of questions on
Yeah, go ahead.
The grounds of the library, are you allowed to be on the grounds after hours?
Sure.
It's not like, I just didn't know if there was like posting like you can't be on the grounds. I'm just
There's
I never even
you're-
thought of it.
You're
that
not
way,
you're not supposed to park in the parking lot overnight. Like things like that's definitely on there. I don't think there's anything. I don't
About
think there's
being
anything
on
about
the
the
Yeah,
grounds
there's no
of Lawrence,
signage
No.
around the park
No.
that says.
Right, yeah.
I wasn't
Some
sure.
parks have,
Remember. Yeah.
open like dusk
Yeah,
till
dusk
dawn
till
or
dawn
whatever,
or
but
whatever, yeah.
I don't think there is signage around the library grounds.
No,
All right, sorry, Julie, go ahead.
that's okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple concerns. The first couple concerns, one is vandalism.
Yep.
And the other is that it's my understanding from talking to you earlier that anybody can come, and my concern is that I volunteer at a food pantry. You can only go so many, in Salem, you can go to the store you can go to a pop-up once a week. My concern is people coming every single day. My concern is people who living in a mansion coming and grabbing food.
Well, that's not your concern. Like it says, like this food pantry is not. It's like it's stocked by the HRIC, and that is for them to be concerned about. It's not for us to be concerned about.
But
Right.
I do think that we need to be concerned about vandalism.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't
And,
disagree about
I-
that too.
I would like to, as Trustee Hagan brought up, that I would like to have them come and speak to us, and we tell them about some of the concerns that we have.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't we extend an invitation to our next meeting?
We can do that.
Would you like me to do that?
Sure, you can.
So I think it's a great idea. I think it's good to sort of hash out the details. I think if someone from a mansion wants to come and take food, then okay. That's the nature of these sort of mutual aid things. They're open to all, and I'm not really worried about that personally. I think it will get used. My only concern, again, this would be sort of from the HRIC, like because the idea is to use this maybe as a model for elsewhere in town. I want to make sure that there's a plan to make it sustainable so that it's regularly stocked, because I think it will reflect poorly on the library, even if it's not our project, if it's regularly not well stocked, if it's empty, if people aren't able to find the staples they need. So I think that's just my concern, is making sure that they have a robust roadmap in place to ensure that it's always not, even if not full, but there's always the staples, because again, it'll be on the library property, and whether we like it or not, it will become associated with the library.
Right,
So I
true,
just want to
true.
make sure that people have sort of because my also worry is someone goes there and maybe it's empty and they go and complain to your staff. I don't like, so I think part of it is also just making sure the communication so people are going to the right, because I don't want your staff to suddenly have to be
right.
fielding questions like, oh, the why isn't this in the fridge? I think it's a great idea. I just think probably maybe just getting like some more information on how they're going to manage it to make sure that it doesn't become a problem for your staff would be my only concern. But I love the idea, and I think I like the idea of using this sort of as the first one because it is so visible, and if it's successful, there could be a model for more around town. So I'm definitely in support of it, but yeah, same as others. Just let's have some questions.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I think we've answered our own questions. There's too many open-ended things. I mean, the idea was good. I think it's a good idea, but, you know.
You want more information.
Well, I mean, you
Yeah,
gotta
sure,
have
that's
more
fine.
information. It only makes sense to have more information. Like, you know, who's gonna be on board? Businesses? I mean, you know, who's gonna staff it? Volunteers? Who? You know, who?
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think, to be honest, because it's their the first one, right? I think that they don't have answers to
Right.
all of these questions yet either, which is why I thought it would be valuable to have this discussion so that we know what we want to ask, and make sure that they're clear on before, you know.
I think it's very simple. They want it, have them come here, and we'll talk to them.
Yeah. So we'll have Donna talk to her to them, and come back maybe next meeting if that's available to them to come to the next meeting on the 14th of January, and we'll reconvene at that point about it.
Great idea, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
Please let them know that we are enthusiastic about the idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I kind of told her, I was like, I am sure that they'll be in favor of the idea, but you know, I knew that we'd have some questions that we'd want to solve.
I think the biggest thing, like from our perspective, is just getting, and there's a lot of information. This is very good, but it is really like from our perspective ensuring that it's successful. Because if this is going to be the first one, we want this to, you know, set a good standard for it.
Right,
So I
right.
love the idea.
Right. Yeah. And as you say, there's going to be there'll be a learning curve with this one.
Absolutely.
Right. You know. So you know, maybe to Julie's point, somebody shows up every day, and it doesn't have to be a person living in a mansion, but someone comes in every day and clears out the fridge because they're like, oh, my family needs this food, and like, look, here's free food, I'm going to take it.
Well, that's what I mean.
You know, that could happen, right? So what is their plan if that's something that happens? You know, and I mean, I know in their proposal they're kind of like, it will be monitored, you know, daily, and you'll have. I mean, that's what they're saying is going to happen. But as you say, like, who's that going to be? You know, how are they providing for, you know, those donations and making sure that, you know, there's things in the fridge every day. And I was saying earlier, in Melrose, there is very publicly in the downtown outside of a church, there is a food fridge, which is, it's just a cabinet. And you can add to it if you want to. So if you want to put donations in there, you can. And then, you know, you can take what you want out of there. And I mean, I go by it all the time. I've never seen it vandalized. It is a very brightly lit public spot that would probably be hard to vandalize without someone seeing you, but you know, people manage to do things. Yeah, there's always, from me walking by it many times, like, there's always something in there. So, you know, I don't know. So I think where we place it on the grounds will be very, very important, because if you put it someplace that is a very visible, well lit place, I think there's less likely to be vandalism, and less likely that people will take too much advantage as well. So I think that's going to be a key factor. I have an idea of where I want it in my head, but I really have to think about that too.
We lost our urn. We lost our plaque. So
That's true. It's true.
There'll be a
People
dozen tomatoes be
people
thrown
have
all
made
over
off
the-
with things
there'll be
before.
a dozen tomatoes thrown against the library
And
wall.
our
there.
hostas, all of our plants. Right?
Oh yes, somebody made off with the hostas in the little side garden. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. People do.
Hard to have nice things,
But you have to keep
trying.
you have to keep trying,
We
right?
keep
Like, you know,
trying.
it can be hard, and I think, you know, it's a point for you know, them when they consider construction of this and where it is, like, how is it being, because we talked about, you know, you have the cabinet and then you have maybe another structure around the cabinet, right, to like kind of further protect
Yeah.
it from from.
I mean, I think the biggest
hands.
issue is going to be kids. Like, if it's open at night, like not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, in terms of vandalism, and I don't think there's any. We can talk about this with them when they come, but no, I mean, I'm not concerned at all about who uses it. Anybody who takes food, that's a good thing. Great, everyone's eating. But if kids are wrecking it, we need.
Yeah.
And the HRIC, I'm sure, is being thoughtful about that. It sounds like they've got some options for feedback, and I'll look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah, so that was one of my very first things too, was vandalism. Fear of
Yeah.
vandalism was my very first, like, I don't want it to get wrecked if we have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, there's just stuff to work through, so. But it is, yeah, great idea. It's a great idea. But, okay, very good. Yeah, I'll make sure to communicate back to her, and like Donna, you can invite her to the next meeting, and I'll loop you into, I'll loop you into the email that I write back to her, and then you can extend the invite.
Okay, the other thing is I'm reading, this project will positively impact Danvers residents. If you've got something on the lawn, unless they're asking for an ID, how do you know they're a Danvers resident?
No, we don't. But, they say, like, the library is filled with people who are not from Danvers, come in all the
but
time,
I'm
right?
just saying, this
So-
says Danvers residents.
Well, I mean, it will positively impact Danvers residents. It might also impact residents of other places too. But
I think if people are coming from out of town because their library is a place where they feel safe and can get help, then that's a good thing. Like,
yes, it will affect positively on the library.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a really nice thing, and I think it'll, probably get some nice news coverage out of it too. Just putting my PR hat on.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it is pure. And she and I did touch on, because some of the other libraries have them inside the library, but we just don't really have a spot. Like, that's like our space is,
Yeah.
weird. So like we don't really have a place that we could put something inside. And again, of course, that also limits people to be able to. It's only available when
Right.
library's open, though we are open a lot of hours. But we would probably not have a spot that we could put it really in the library, unfortunately. But like a friend of mine is director in a New Hampshire library, and she just added like a food pantry inside the library, but she had like a space like to do it.
Yeah.
So, and that would probably be an easier solution because you could monitor it. But again, the same thing. People will take. We did like that sock drive that one of the high schoolers did a sock drive, and we had it out in the vestibule. And I know you put socks in there. I put socks in there. People put socks in there. And like I went to check it one day, and all the socks were gone. Like somebody took all the socks for the sock drive, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I felt bad. Went out and bought more socks so that the kid actually had some socks for their sock drive. But that people will take advantage of things when they can sometimes. So we just have to build that into an expectation of that will happen to an extent.
Maybe they thought it was a sock pantry.
maybe they did. Even though it was, properly signed. It was.
I mean, these things are great.
Yeah.
Right.
They.
Do we
I
have
just-
any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Julie.
So that anybody listening, I don't want to get telephone calls. I am in favor of this. We absolutely do need, I just had questions. Please don't call me
And complain.
and complain.
Do you hate people who are hungry,
Yeah.
Julie?
Tomorrow on Facebook, Julie wants people to starve. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. But okay. Yep. But so we have our next steps with that. So very good.
Great.
Is there any other new business before we adjourn? Do I have a motion to for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
What is the time?
It is 8:10.
Okay, and Noah, you made the
I made the motion.